Hello again, and welcome back. I'm Matthew from thewetpen.com, and nearly a year ago I placed my first order for a handful of Woodex fountain pens from India. India has a long history of making fountain pens, and traditional Indian pens were primarily hand-turned Ebonite models that were eyedropper filled, from brands like Ratnam, Gamma, and Guider, which still exist, and of course numerous brands that didn't survive the turn of the century. Woodex is not one of these historic brands. The company is about 10 years old, but most of their pens are hand-turned Ebonite, and many of them are eyedroppers made in the traditional style, with Indian-made nibs from Kanwrite or Ambitious. And they're made by a Mr. Prabhakar, who has been making traditional pens in the industry for something like 30 years. I'm going to show you 10 Woodex fountain pens today to give you a bit of an overview of the types of pens that they make, some cheap ones and some more expensive ones, but keep in mind that the company makes over 60 different models, so this is just a taste of what they have to offer. I'm going to start with this less expensive batch that I ordered online from a shop on the southern tip of India called August at helloaugust.com. They don't normally ship internationally, but they were kind enough to accept my order anyway, and dealing with me probably didn't make them any more likely to accept international orders in the future, but you might give it a try anyway. And if you're in India, they're wonderful people and I really recommend ordering from them. I just ordered all of the Woodex pens that they had, 6 different models at the time, and I'll start by showing you the smallest and least expensive, and I'll work my way up. This is the Woodex number 19 fountain pen in this nice streaky brown and black ebonite. Prices have gone up a little since I bought these, but I paid 650 rupees, which is about $7.60. Probably the most interesting thing about this pen is the design of the clip, which sprouts up out of the tip of the cap before curving over and down the side. It's reminiscent of a very popular Indian pen called the Camlin Trinity, which I have here too. The clip is pretty much the only similarity between these pens though. The Trinity has a steel cap that snaps on and off instead of twisting, and when I snap the cap off here, you can see that the nib is a very plain little stubby thing, although it writes perfectly well. The Woodex pen, on the other hand, has a twist cap, and the threads on mine are a little tight, but underneath the cap we have a nice little number 4 nib made by Ambitious, an Indian nib maker that dates back to the 1940s. And if I turn this over, you can see that it has a low-profile ebonite feed. The Camlin Trinity has a cartridge converter, but this Woodex pen is strictly for use as an eyedropper-filled pen. But it's a nice little pen with a good solid feel. My hands are on the large side, so the grip is a bit small to be perfect for me, but people with smaller hands might appreciate it. Let me give you a better idea of the size of this pen. Here it is next to a Lamy All-Star, and here's a TWSBI Eco. And if you're curious about the size of the nib, here's the Ambitious number 4 next to the TWSBI Eco's number 5. I'm going to add a little bit of my Rainier blue ink to this pen, and let's see how it writes. Right off, this particular nib gives me quite a bit more feedback than I like, and the pen burping like this is a common issue with small eyedropper-filled pens, so I don't imagine that this one is going to get a lot of use from me. Similar in width to the Woodex number 19, but quite a bit longer, is the Woodex number 28. The clip on this one is similar to a Parker Arrow clip, and it's held on with one of these black button finials at the top, but of course, the striking thing about this pen is its unusual length. It's 19 centimeters long, which is about 7.5 inches, and it's made of a very nice looking brown tiger striped ebonite. Again, if we unscrew the cap, there's a number 4 nib underneath. This one is unbranded, but I think it might also be an ambitious. And the pen is also an eyedropper filler, and it cost about 1,100 rupees, or $13 or so. I filled this pen with the same ink, and it feels pretty identical to the previous pen, bordering on scratchy, but at least this one isn't making a mess. Taking the next step up in nib size, this is the Woodex number 11. The shape of this pen reminds me quite a bit of a pelican, with the black caps on both ends and the knobby finial at the top. I like the clip, very clean and simple, and the ebonite of this pen is one of my favorite ebonite colors. This tan contrasts really nicely with the black streaks. Under the cap, the grip section is black ebonite that tapers down from the threads to a lip at the end, and the nib on this one is a Kanwrite number 5.5. And this one also has to be eyedropper filled. And again, with the same ink, this nib feels quite a bit better. And it also helps that this one is a medium rather than a fine. About the same size is this Woodex number 45, which is a very traditional cigar-shaped ebonite eyedropper pen. The finial on this cap is black, which is a bit unusual, and the clip is a different one too. It's hinged beneath the clip rather than on top. Removing the cap, the grip section is also black, but instead of a small lip at the end like the number 11, this one has a wider band. And the nib is also a Kanwrite number 5.5. I haven't measured it myself, but the website says that this pen holds 2 milliliters of ink and it costs 1,600 rupees, a little less than $19. At about the same price as the previous two pens, this one is a Woodex number 4. It's the largest pen so far, and this one's a very comfortable size for my hand. I really like it. This clip is engraved with the WDX to abbreviate the name, and there's a tall finial above the clip with a flat end. And sometimes these have a white dot inlaid in the finial, but mine doesn't. I'll unscrew the cap here. And the grip section on this pen tapers down for about 3/4 of its length, and then tapers back up until the end. And this time we have a number 6 Kanwrite nib, and again, an ebonite feed. Like the previous pens, this one is also an eyedropper. And using the same ink and paper again, this broad nib is excellent, really nice and smooth with almost no feedback. And that brings us to the final pen from this order, the Woodex number 50. This pen cost twice as much as the number 4, but still costs less than $40. This one is a pretty hefty pen. It feels very solid, and as you can see, I got this one in a green ebonite this time, but it's also available in other colors. In fact, all of these pens are. The design is similar to some of those bamboo-inspired pens out there, divided into several sections with these deep lines. And on the top of the cap, There is also an inlaid pearlescent white dot. With the cap removed, we can see that the grip section is concave, pretty similar to the number 4, but you can see that there's this odd texture in the Ebonite. I've never seen this before, and I have to assume that it's caused by something like air bubbles trapped in that section of the Ebonite, but I'm not sure. It's very odd. Now this one also has a number 6 sized Kanwrite nib, but this time it's in a JoWo compatible housing, so you can switch in a JoWo nib if you feel like it, but more importantly, it means that this pen is the first one we've seen so far that is not just an eyedropper. It'll accept a cartridge or converter too. This one arrived with a Schmidt K5 converter inside, which makes it a much more practical option for me. The cap does post on this pen, but it makes the pen so long that I can't imagine anyone actually writing with it that way. And to give you an idea of the size of this pen, here it is next to a Lamy All-Star, and here's the Woodex number 4, and the little Woodex number 19. And that was it for my first order of Woodex pens, but although August carries a lot of good practical daily use style Woodex pens, they didn't stock some of the larger pens aimed at collectors and the international market. So for those, I contacted Woodex directly via WhatsApp a few months ago, and I ordered 4 more pens. The first pen that I decided on was the number 61, also known as the Skyline model. And I bought it entirely for the shape of the pen body, which has this strong taper down to a point, making it look sort of like a paintbrush. This pen is black ebonite, but it's also available in ebonites of different colors, and there are some different cap band variations available too. The clip on this pen is the same as the one that we saw on the Woodex number 45. The cap unscrews in about 2 full turns, and the grip section tapers smoothly down to a ring at the end. This pen was originally offered to me with a Ricoh number 8 or an ambitious number 8 nib. That's the Indian size number 8, which is smaller than a JoWo number 6. But I opted for the Kanwrite number 6 that would support a cartridge converter, and that's what we've got here. As you'd expect from the shape of this pen, the cap does post deeply and securely, and this broad Kanwrite nib writes just as well as the previous one that I showed you. Again, for size comparison, here it is with the Lamy, and the little Woodex number 19, and for my Indian viewers, this is a Click Yen. Now this pen is a Woodex number 64, and it has a type of nib that I haven't shown you yet. It has a plain chrome clip, and I really like the fact that the black in this ebonite is a little more delicate than you typically see, and the cap and body meet flush in the middle, but it's otherwise a pretty common cigar shape. It does post, but not very deeply. It takes a full 4 turns to take the cap off, which is a bit much, but there's a very comfortable concave grip section underneath. And the nib is a 40mm ambitious nib, which is a bit larger than a JoWo number 6, but smaller than a number 8. The ebonite feed here is about 6.5mm in diameter, so just slightly larger than a JoWo number 6 feed. This time I inked the pen with some of my Lapis Bard old-fashioned ink, and this nib feels wonderful. It's smooth and it's also nice and wet. Very nice. Next, I went with this big glossy black Ebonite pen, the Woodex number 62. Again, this is a fairly standard cigar-shaped pen, and on the clip you can see the WDX abbreviation. Unscrewing the cap here, again, it takes about 4 full turns to come off, but this pen has a really beautiful convex grip section, very comfortable, and the combination of the shape of the grip and the shape of the nib is very elegant. I'm a big fan. The nib here is also an ambitious 40mm nib, this time gold-plated, but interestingly, this one uses a number 6 sized plastic feed rather than an Ebonite one. And that's because I asked for this pen with a cartridge converter. Let me show you the size difference between this thing and a number 6 sized nib in one of my Lotus pens. It's not a huge difference, but it's definitely noticeable. The cap of this pen does post pretty deeply and securely, but it gets to be pretty large to be comfortable for my hand. I inked this pen up with some Sailor ink from Kingdom Note in Tokyo. This one is Stag Beetle, and this nib also feels really nice and smooth like the last one. To give you a better idea of the size of this pen, here it is next to the Lamy All-Star again, and here's a Click Aristocrat. And that brings us to the final Woodex pen that I ordered. This one is a Woodex number 39, and it's also available with a body in lots of different colors, but I don't have any pens made with this yellow and red Ebonite, so I thought I'd give it a shot. Again, this one has the clip with the Woodex abbreviation, and at the tip of the cap there's an inlaid white dot. The cap on this one comes off in only 2 full turns, and again we have the gold-toned ambitious 40mm nib and plastic feed. The grip section on this one has a more modest convex shape, but it's still nice and comfortable. And although the cap on this one will post, it's not very deep and it gets pretty top-heavy. I put a Sailor ink in this pen too, and it was supposed to be maroon, but it's quite a bit more pink than that. The nib in this pen is also nice and smooth, but it is significantly more dry than the pen with the Ebonite feed. Anyway, that's all of my Woodex pens. I love the fact that these Indian pens all use Indian nibs, and I'm really happy with these 40mm ambitious nibs in particular, although the tipping on the number 4 nibs could probably stand a polish. Oh, and I might as well mention that these large pens were not terribly expensive either. They were all less than $50 each, which is really nice for handmade pens. And that's it. If you want to contact Woodex directly, I'll put their contact information down below. I will probably take a break from Indian pens for my next couple of videos, but I do have some really nice ones to show you, so I'll get to them before too long. If you'd like to see whatever I have next, including announcements for new inks, you can, of course, subscribe to my channel here, but you can also follow me on Instagram, and I'm trying out Blue Sky too. And you can find those links below or on my website. Stay safe out there, everyone, and enjoy your fountain pens and ink. I'll see you next time.